Here's your Forbes Daily Briefing for Thursday, March 21st. Today on Forbes, Trump could have easily avoided his $540 million cash crunch. As we've been reporting this week, Donald Trump is facing a liquidity crisis. Over $540 million in legal fines currently weigh on him, threatening to deplete his $400 million in estimated cash reserves and force him to sell or borrow against his real estate empire. On March 8th, thanks to the Chubb insurance company, he posted a $91.6 million bond in the Carroll case, where the writer won 2 verdicts against Trump for sexual abuse and defamation. Now Trump's lawyers say he is unable to secure a bond for the more than $450 million he owes in his other case, where he has a judgment against him for fraud. Insurance companies are balking at giving him a bond, apparently saying they won't accept his real estate as collateral. Payment or bond in that case is due this Monday, March 25th, to the state of New York, which could subsequently try to seize his assets. While Trump appeals both cases, he may be wondering if there was a different path, a financial road not taken. Forbes considered 2 viable paths that would have saved him a lot of headaches, not to mention money. Trump could have simply invested the estimated $400 million inheritance he received from his father, who died in 1999. Or he could have divested his business empire, as ethics officials urged him to do, when he became president in January 2017, and then simply reinvested the proceeds in the stock market. In both cases, he'd be much richer and more liquid today, and he may have even avoided the $450 million bill for lying about his assets. Ethics experts urged Trump, worth an estimated $3.5 billion the day he entered the White House, to sell his assets and put the returns in a blind trust during his presidency. Walter Chubb, then head of the Office of Government Ethics, said in January 2017, quote, "Nothing short of divestiture will resolve these conflicts." Trump refused, opting instead to let his sons run his businesses. His companies raked in more than $2.4 billion in revenues from 2017 to 2020 while he was in office, raising constant conflict of interest questions about exactly who was spending money at his properties. Everyone from hotel guests to office building tenants to real estate buyers were scrutinized. Had Trump followed that advice and divested instead, he would have taken a hit to pay taxes initially. Federal and state capital gains taxes could have lopped off as much as 33%, over $1.1 billion, off his fortune. But even assuming maximum taxes are taken out, which isn't likely given Trump's long record of finding ways to minimize his payments to Uncle Sam, he'd still be worth much more today. If he'd invested the remaining $2.4 billion in a fund tracking the S&P 500, he'd be up about 125% since January 2017, putting his present-day net worth at roughly $5.3 billion. That's more than twice what he's actually worth, $2.6 billion, per Forbes' last estimate in September. Some of his pre-presidency business activity may still have attracted New York State Attorney General Letitia James's attention, but with over $5 billion in liquid assets, he'd easily be able to pay off a judgment against him like the one he faces now. He likely would still be on the hook for the Carroll case. For years, people have speculated about how much help Donald Trump got from his father in building his fortune. Trump himself fanned the flames, famously and falsely claiming that all he got from his father was a, quote, small loan of $1 million that he had to pay back with interest. The New York Times helped clarify the question in 2018 in a 13,000-word expose, revealing that Trump had received over $413 million from his father across multiple decades. The article noted that if Trump had simply invested that inheritance in the S&P 500, it would have been worth $1.96 billion the day the article came out. At that time, Trump was worth $3.1 billion, so he'd done better than he would have just sitting on cash. But since the Times article was published, the stock market has been on a tech-fueled tear, while Trump's business empire has struggled. Starting in 2021, the hypothetical inheritance investment began to outpace his real-world net worth, and has done so mostly consistently, except for in late 2022 when markets swooned. But markets recovered, and today, that same inheritance would be worth an estimated $3.7 billion, well above his $2.6 billion real-world net worth. For full coverage, check out Kyle Mullen's piece on forbes.com. This is Kieran Meadows from Forbes. Thanks for tuning in.